welcome back to episode 5. I am very, very excited and privileged to have a good friend, Tim Troyer, on the podcast. Tim.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Nate. I'm so excited about this little podcast video. It's going to be a lot of fun. And when I see a young guy like Nate here just working his tail off and trying to get ahead in life, and gets me excited. I love watching you, Nate, and what you're doing, and you're working hard and trying to build up for a better future. And also what you're doing here on the podcast, trying to give good content and add value to other young people's lives. I think that's just amazing. So proud of you for that. I'm honored to be here. I'm passionate about young people and what their trajectory looks like, and building a good foundation for a good life. I feel like I was given a good foundation from my dad and my family and my community, and just a lot of influential people in my life that really just laid a good foundation, taught me a lot young. It really got me set off on a good trajectory. And today, I'm a blessed dad. I'm 30 years old now. I feel ancient. Got a wonderful wife, 3 adopted kids, and a small business that I run that I thoroughly enjoy. But I believe it comes from starting a foundation very young, and I think that's the secret to being successful is starting at a young age. And that's kind of what I want to talk about and just want to share with you guys is, how do you start at a young age to set a trajectory that's going to advance? And how are you going to get, you'll hear the phrase a lot, get ahead of the ball, or get ahead of the curve. And I think that's something that's really important for young people, is just to get ahead of the curve while you're young. Let's just dive in. I think the one thing I love is compound interest, and just looking at that. What does compound interest look? How does that work? So first of all, I just got a soccer ball here, and I feel like sometimes a ball is just a great illustration of life. So let's just imagine this ball is life, and as the ball is turning, is time going past. And we're on this ball here, and if you just imagine here that the life is turning and we're trying to walk. Well, if you get started, when you're on this side of the ball, every step is an uphill journey as life's going along. And I feel like that demonstrates being behind the curve. You're just, it's hard. Especially when you're in debt and you've got let's say if you get married young and you have a family, man, life can be, and your whole life can really be behind the curve, just barely keeping up. Whereas if you set yourself up for success when you're young, and you could get on top of this ball and get on the front, get a home paid for before you get married, have some savings, have some cushion. When every step, as life rolls along, every step's a downhill step instead of being over here, and every step is an uphill step. Just if you can get started early, get started young, get started when you're saving, when you're 17, 18, 19, when you're real young, long before you're married, and start investing that money, and you can really get ahead of the curve. Also, the same thing works for relationships. If you can start having good relationships while you're young, get ahead of that curve. That way, once you're married, you're having healthy relationships, and you know how to relate with your wife well, versus struggling with your marriage relationship, whatever type of relationships you're in, just struggling, learning how to be a leader when you're young, putting yourself in stretching situations, traveling, going on mission trips, putting yourself in stressing situations when you're young. That way you can learn how to get ahead of the ball when you're older, get ahead of the curve, get on the other side where you're just walking downhill. It's so much easier if a life's a downhill walk than if it's an uphill walk. So start into this. So I love a compound interest calculator, and this is based off of $50 a week. Every week you put $50 into a savings account, and I've only put it at 15% interest return. If you would, let's say, put by Berkshire Hathaway stock, over the last 50 years, they've had a 19% return on contribution. So 15%, that's doable. If you would do a 15% ROI over in 20 years. So if you started at 16, start at 16 and started putting in $50 every week. I mean, that's $10 for every working day. So it's not huge. It's about what you pay for lunch. By the time you're 36, you have $285,000 there. And okay, hey, that looks like, oh, that's not really that much. Like, that's not really. But if you look at that, I love the way this is expanding. So this green line is what you put in. You just keep steady. But look how this is growing, the difference here. So this is all stuff you didn't have to work for. There's no work. All of this assets you have in this line, you haven't worked. You've worked your tail off for this little sliver here. All this is free money, guys. Free money. And if anybody tells you if there's free money, this is the only free money out there is compound interest money. There's not a lot of other free scams. But this is the miracle stuff. This awesome thing is if I go up here, instead of 20 years, I put in 30 years. We are now at $1.2 million in 30 years. Look at the contribution. This is all we put in every day, $10, every working day. So 5 days a week, we're doing $10. This is always, look at all this free money. $1.2 million. Our contribution, we've put in $74,000. Our contribution is $74,000, but we've got $1.2 million. And that's in 30 years. So if you started at 18, you could by 48, you're over $1 million. And then you add another 10 years and it gets wild. Because every year, this curve gets steeper and steeper and steeper. And it starts compounding like crazy. But easily, by this time, you could probably quit work almost to live off the interest here. I mean, it's wild. 1.2 million in the bank is a lot of money. And then also if you used your other money to buy a house and get settled in, it's a lot of money. But it's all because you started here. You got to start today, guys. Start in here, and you get this curve to start building. And the more money you can put in back here, the faster you can get this curve going. So if you can put in more than $10 a day, if you can every week say, hey, I'm going to put in $100 instead of $50, you're going to be double that. I mean, way over double because it's going to compound and it's going to get wild. I mean, you could be at 5 million just by putting in $100 a week.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you probably blow that on a night out in town. Like, take that money and start putting it in the compound. What do you think about that, Nate?
Yeah, no, I like that. I mean, I was thinking about like my grocery bill and for just my regular food that I spend way too much on food. But like, even if I cut that in half, and not necessarily less, but just better quality stuff that you're not eating so much, added junk or whatever to your body, and took the rest of the $100, or like you were saying, $50, and start put that in every day, and not even having to free money is a concept that a lot of people look at and they're like, well, there's no such thing as free money. But the more I kind of start to look around, I'm like, wait a second, I think there is some free money just hanging around.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Yeah. So, but the free money is you got to get your money, save your money, invest your money early, and put it in good investments, not vehicles.
Right.
Don't go, like, vehicles are not an investment.
Right.
Properties, you're not going to get 15% return on investment on property. Like, you've got to put it in a business. A stock market is a business. Put it in and leave it in. Put it in, leave it in. Don't go put it in crypto or some kind of dumb stuff. Right. Go with maybe you can make big, maybe you'll lose it all. Put it in something that's steady, consistent, that you know is going to just win over the long term and really pile up that free money.
Yeah.
But it takes work and it's consistency. And you got to start now. You got to start early. That's really what I want to encourage you guys is start investing early. Start making simple, do like an automatic withdrawal so you don't notice it. Like, get your check to go into your bank account, do an automatic withdrawal that comes out every week. Just put it away. Put that money away every week. Be consistent about it. Go hard, go as much as you can. And there's all kinds of tax benefits in investing. So it's amazing what you can do. I mean, you can invest up to $7,000 a year without having to pay taxes on it. There's all kinds of different investing strategies. So that's my encouragement for you guys. If on financially, start investing, start young. Now, let's take it to the next level. This same thing works for giving. And God has set it up to where, and I've seen it work over and over again, and God's interest rate is a lot better than this worldly interest rate. It's a lot better than 15% interest. We don't know what the interest rate is. We don't always see what the returns. The returns look different for different people, and it depends on God's calling in your life.
Right.
Maybe it's kids that grow up decently. Maybe it's just an amazing wife. Maybe it's just a wife that you're not worthy of, and it's just like, but you start giving young, giving now, and you start experiencing those benefits. And I think that's where the power's at in life, is just starting early, starting giving early, start investing in others early, start giving your time early. It needs to start sooner. It needs to start now. Don't wait. Today's the day to start getting that compound interest in life to roll up. So you start giving. Start at least 10%, at least tithing. I mean, that's the bare minimum. But just, you can do more than that. The blessings really kick in when you start doing more than that. Part of my success in life, I would contribute to being a very generous person at a young age. Before I even owned my first car, this is not bragging, this is the truth, and I want to glorify God in it. Before me and my brother owned a car together or something. It was a little old Altima, but I was like a half owner of a car. I had the joy of writing out a $10,000 check, and this is when I was making a quarter of my money. I was only keeping a quarter of my money from my parents, and I wrote out a $10,000 check to an organization as a gift, and that is contributed. I feel like that was like an investment I made into God's kingdom, and He's given me back. And now I've written out huge checks now in giving because of that initial check. That was a huge check for me at that time. I feel like God's just been blessing me for the last 10 years, and that compound interest has just been compounding and compounding and compounding. So get wild, guys, when you're young. Man, when it comes to giving your time, giving money, give whatever resource you have, be generous, be exotically generous. I was 20 years old, and there was a lot of things I could have blew my money on, but I had a heart. I had been raised with a heart to serve others and care about others. And I also understood this concept. The Bible says, cast your bread on the waters, and after many days it will return to you. This concept, this truth is like gravity. It's just happens. It just works. God promised it. You don't even have to be a Christian for it to work. I've seen generous people be incredibly successful, not even be a Christian. It's like gravity.
Yeah.
So that's my encouragement to you guys, is be a generous young people. And that's the best way to set up for the future. So you see the compound interest, and that's cool, right? Mm-hmm. But imagine investing in the kingdom of God. Right. And then by faith, His returns.
Right.
Man, I'm excited for you guys. I'm excited for you to apply some of these truths. Get out there, fight against the flow. Don't do what normal people are doing. Don't do what normal kids are doing, blowing your money on a $1,500 iPhone. Man, that's crazy, guys. $1,500 iPhone, when you could take that $1,000, you could live off. You could find a $500 iPhone, take that extra $1,000, save a life somewhere in the world. You could send Bibles somewhere or send it to a mission somewhere. You could probably save multiple people would not die today because you took that $1,000 and gave it. Can you imagine when you get before the throne and you stand before God, and you're like, and there's 5 people here that are standing behind you and say, I'm here because of that $1,000 you gave when you were 18 years old. Can you imagine? That just blows my mind to think that I'll be standing before God someday, and there will be a group of people around me that I brought to heaven, not me, but I mean it's through God, but it's still because of the hard work and the sacrifice I made. There's going to be people in heaven that are going to join me there, and I'm so excited about that. That just gives me some pep in my step every day, keeps me going, and you can make a huge difference. You live in America. What a wonderful place of opportunity. Use that opportunity. God's given it to you, and He's going to hold you accountable for that in the long term. Are you using that opportunity? Love you, Nate. I feel like you're using what God's given you. You're doing well, and been good. So that's my rant. It's my passion, and I love it.
Yeah, good. I don't know how much time you have and stuff, but
I need to probably get home to my wife and kids as soon as I can.
no worries. Yeah. I wanted to bring up one of the points that as you're talking that I thought about when with the parable of the talents, where the guy that was given, where it says too much is given, much will be asked, but also the idea of being faithful in little and will become faithful in much, because it's a character thing.
So
not,
true.
Not
So
just
true.
like, oh, like one day we're gonna have a lot of money, or when I have the ability to, then I'll give money. And it's like, well, then you'll never give money anyways.
Exactly.
You'll always be, you'll always be right where you are.
Yeah.
And stuff. Yeah. No, I think that's really good. Thanks, Tim, for being on the podcast.
Man, thanks for having me, Nate. I just thank you for
Yeah,
giving
well,
me this
no,
opportunity to share with a lot of young people
Yeah.
that something I'm so passionate about and setting up their life for success.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, guys, thanks all for watching. This is a shorter one and stuff, but hey, nothing wrong with that, I would say. But with all that, God bless you all. God loves you guys. Tim, thanks again for coming.
Yeah, love you
coming
guys.
on, and God bless you.
Thank you, Nate.